Thank you for taking a moment today to listen into the Belk on Business podcast. As we start 2021, kind of felt that maybe it was a kind of a good time to talk about areas of growth. When we look into our lives and we look into our businesses, there's always areas that we need to work on. And, whether that's true personally, a lot of times when people start a year, they kind of take the time to make some sort of resolution. They may, feel like they want to lose weight, or they make some sort of just vague goal. Other people sometimes make more specific goals. But I think whether we're talking about we want to work on our relationships or we want to work on our health, whatever the case may be, we're never going to perfect any of those areas. But whenever we look into areas in our personal life, we look into areas in our business world, there are always different aspects of our life and our business that we need to work on. And of course, we're always going to want to improve in certain areas. I do think it is definitely true that either we're growing in some area or we're regressing. So either we're improving or we're getting worse. And sometimes I think that even when we begin to focus on certain areas, to give you an example, we really want to try to work on scaling our business. Many times when people go and they put all this effort into scaling their business, they look at their personal life and maybe their relationships begin to fall apart because they've taken so much of their energy and they focused it in one area of growth and they begin to neglect other areas. So trying to reach that point to where we're really trying to grow and improve in one aspect of our life or in our business that we completely don't neglect another area. So we are constantly working on improving in the areas that we need to improve and still try to address those other areas so we don't regress in the other areas that maybe we had made improvement in previously. So as I sat down and began to think about areas of growth as it relates to in our business, I kind of pointed out or identified 5 different areas. I'm sure there are many more, but as I begin to think about this, 5 different areas that I think we can look at in our business and we really want to try to focus on areas of growth. First of all is that of leadership. I've spent quite a few podcasts, especially in the early days of recording the podcast, talking about leadership. It's kind of one of those areas that I enjoy reading. I enjoy listening to podcasts about, and I think a lot of that stemmed from my father, who really kind of enjoyed the topic and kind of really passed on a lot of books and in different CDs that he used to listen to in regard to this topic of leadership. When we talk about leadership, specifically in different areas in our business, the ability to connect different talents and perspectives. So are we able to bring people together? Are we able to question the status quo? Do we have the ability to hold oneself and others accountable? I think this is one definite key area of leadership. Is are we able to be able to hold other people accountable, and I think even more importantly, are we able to hold ourselves accountable? I think of Jocko Willink. I mentioned him in the podcast last week in this line that he gave in Extreme Ownership. I'm reading the book, I think, now for the 3rd time in preparation for a meeting later this week. And in this book, he said there are no bad teams. There are only bad leaders. There are really no ineffective teams. There are only ineffective leaders. And as a leader in our business, I really need to be holding myself accountable, because if I'm not holding myself accountable, guess what? I'm not going to have a good team. And am I able to, do I have the ability to be able to manage others, manage myself, and also manage risk? I think that in order for us to grow, we're going to have to assume some risk, or we're going to have to take some risk. If we're not, we're going to be essentially happy or satisfied with the status quo. So one area as we begin 2020, and maybe one area that we need to look at as far as in growth in our business is our ability to lead. I'm not quite sure if leaders are born, if leaders are made. I think maybe to some extent, people kind of a natural tendency to be a natural leader. But I think for anybody, they can become a leader in the areas that they have a responsibility to lead if they're willing to put in the work to be able to learn and do the things they need to do to be able to be an effective leader. Second is in the area of technology. I was actually just reading earlier today just some thought leaders in the world of accounting. And in some areas that they feel that are trending as it relates to in the world that we operate. And I think 3 of the first 5 mentioned artificial intelligence. They mentioned technology. One of them I actually think put a date on there and felt that by the end of this particular decade, that one part of what we do, and that's tax preparation, will be almost completely in the personal realm. Will be almost completely to the point to where technology will have eliminated that particular service. And for those of us who want to be effective in our trade, we're going to realize that, part of what we do is going to be eliminated in time. So where can we provide value in other areas? But all that's come because of technology. And we really should be able to look into areas of growth in our business as it relates to technology, especially when we talk about hindsight, we talk about our insight. So what has happened in our business, where have we succeeded, where have we failed, where are we at now, and then what direction are we wanting to go, to help us with the forecasting, to help us to provide the information that we need to not only figure out what has happened, but try to really help us in the direction that we need to go. We can also talk about workflow management in our business. I know we spend a ton of money here at the firm level in being able to improve our processes, especially as it relates to our workflow and then also our communication. And so using technology to help us in these areas. Plenty of software out there that can really help us improve as it relates to understanding what has happened in our business, what's going on in our business now, to help us get us where we need to go, to help us with our processes, with our workflow, and also with our communication. Third is that of talent. And so areas of growth, are we improving in the area of the talent that we bring in? Are we making sure that we're putting the right people in the right seat? There are a lot of consultants out there, a lot of people out there, a lot of programs out there that can help us identify, are we putting in the right person into the right seat? Sometimes we have a tendency to hire people that we like. Or people that we think might be good, but we haven't done the work to be able to truly understand, does this person have the skill set? Does this person have the aptitude? Does the person have the desire to do the work that we're going to hire them to do? And are they able to grow in that position? Do we have the right people in the right seat? Fourth is that a process. I mentioned that a moment ago, but a process. And so do we have a process not just for the work, but also for generating and filtering any ideas that we might have? Going about funding projects, scaling our business. So do we have processes for each of these different areas? And once again, there are people out there. I have a very dear friend at a mastermind that I'm in that he's kind of almost mastered this area of business process. And a lot of our clients, a lot of people that I know in my network has hired this company to help just specifically in the area of process. It's one area in my business that I've struggled with immensely and I needed the most help. And I know that his team has helped us immensely in being able to work on processes. So a lot of times people think about workflow process, but going beyond that, we have ideas in our business. How are we going to go about filtering those ideas, trying to determine whether or not this is a good fit for our business? This is something that we can do or we should do. There should be a process for our decision making as well. And then lastly, growing as it relates to development. And I think this is true both with our people, with ourselves individually as leaders, as owners of the business, as leaders in our business, really spending the time, the resources in our people. The people that work for us, the people that work alongside us, to be able to help develop them, to lift their lid so they can become better and more effective, more efficient. And then also as we look into our products and our service offering, are we constantly developing? Are we constantly improving? And so something we should be working on frequently. Going back to what I said at the beginning, either we're growing or we're dying. We're either progressing or we're regressing. And so as we look at these 5 areas, as we move into 2021, maybe get somebody to help you identify what are some areas that I'm weak in and what can I do to grow in this area of my business. This is Josh Belk with the Belk on Business podcast. I appreciate you taking a few moments to listen in today. Have a wonderful week.